Motor City is not a typical revenge movie. Most action thrillers build toward one explosive showdown where the hero defeats the villain, gets justice, and finally finds peace. Motor City deliberately rejects that formula. Instead, it tells a haunting story about what happens when revenge becomes the only purpose left in someone's life. By the end of the film, John Miller finally kills the man who destroyed everything he loved. But instead of satisfaction, he is left with nothing. To understand why the ending feels so powerful, we first need to look at what started John's journey. The story begins in Detroit during the 1970s. John Miller is a Vietnam War veteran who has finally managed to leave his violent past behind. He works in a factory and has built a quiet life with the woman he loves, Sophia. For the first time in years, his future looks hopeful. That future is destroyed because of one man, Reynolds, a ruthless crime boss who cannot accept losing Sophia. Rather than confronting John fairly, Reynolds uses his criminal connections to frame him. Illegal drugs are planted inside John's vehicle, leading to his arrest and a lengthy prison sentence. Everything John has built disappears overnight. Even while John is serving time, Reynolds refuses to leave him alone. He visits him in prison and openly admits that he orchestrated the entire setup. He even shows John photographs proving that he has taken over every part of his former life, including Sophia. Instead of breaking John's spirit, those visits create something far more dangerous. They give him a single purpose: revenge. John spends years preparing for the day he can escape. Unlike many revenge heroes, he does not rush. He patiently plans every move, builds his own weapons, and waits until the perfect opportunity finally arrives. When he escapes prison with help from trusted allies Youngblood and Singh, his mission officially begins. From that point onward, Motor City tells much of its story without relying on dialogue. Violence, music, and visual storytelling replace long conversations. The movie trusts viewers to understand John's emotions through his actions rather than his words. One of the film's most unforgettable sequences is the brutal fight inside a cramped elevator against Reynolds' deadly enforcer, Savik. The choreography is raw, relentless, and incredibly creative. At the same time, classic songs from the 1970s continue playing in the background. Rather than simply entertaining the audience, the soundtrack becomes another storyteller, expressing emotions John himself rarely puts into words. Eventually, John's search leads him back to Sophia. For a brief moment, it seems his nightmare might finally be over. Instead, he discovers another tragedy. Sophia has been heavily drugged and barely understands what is happening around her. John rescues her and attempts to escape. Then everything falls apart. Reynolds opens fire. Instead of killing John, he accidentally shoots Sophia. She dies during the escape. Because police have already surrounded the area, John has no choice but to leave her behind. This is the true emotional ending of the story. Up until this moment, John believed revenge might allow him to reclaim the life that had been stolen from him. Sophia's death proves that dream was always impossible. There is nothing left to save. Only revenge remains. The film then delivers another violent confrontation between John and Reynolds. During the fight, John finally uses one of the movie's most important symbols: a bullet made from Sophia's wedding ring. The idea is both heartbreaking and deeply symbolic. The object that once represented love, commitment, and a shared future has literally been transformed into a weapon. John has taken the happiest memory of his life and converted it into an instrument of revenge. He shoots Reynolds with the bullet. However, Reynolds survives the encounter. After their vehicle crashes, he escapes. At first, it seems as though John's entire journey has failed. Then Motor City surprises the audience with a massive time jump. 20 years pass. The story now takes place during the 1990s. Everything has changed. Reynolds has grown older. He has a family. He appears to have left much of his violent past behind. Meanwhile, John has continued carrying the same burden for 2 decades. Unlike Reynolds, he has never truly moved forward. The revenge that once gave him purpose has also trapped him. Before their final meeting, Reynolds receives a letter from John. It serves as a warning that the past has finally caught up with him. John quietly enters Reynolds' home. There is no elaborate action sequence, no massive gun battle. Instead, the confrontation feels surprisingly calm. For the first time in years, the two men simply face each other. Reynolds admits that he loved Sophia. John quietly replies that he loved her too. That brief exchange reveals something important. Despite everything they have done, both men are still haunted by the same woman. Sophia remains the emotional center of the story even though she has been gone for 20 years. John then shoots Reynolds. His revenge is finally complete. Yet the movie refuses to celebrate the moment. There is no triumphant music, no emotional release, no feeling that justice has finally been achieved. Instead, the ending feels strangely empty. That emptiness is entirely intentional. Motor City argues that revenge cannot restore what has already been lost. John succeeds in killing the man responsible for destroying his life. But Sophia does not come back. The years he spent in prison cannot be recovered. The 20 years he devoted to revenge cannot be reclaimed. Everything he sacrificed is still gone. The wedding ring bullet perfectly captures this message. At the beginning of the story, the ring represented hope, marriage, love, a future together. By turning it into a bullet, John transforms love into violence. The very thing that should have symbolized life instead becomes the tool that delivers death. It is one of the film's strongest visual metaphors. Even after Reynolds dies, Sophia has been gone for 2 decades. Nothing John accomplishes changes that reality. Ultimately, the ending of Motor City is less interested in revenge than in its consequences. The film asks a difficult question. What happens when someone spends an entire lifetime chasing justice, only to discover that justice cannot heal grief? For John Miller, revenge was never truly about killing Reynolds. It was about refusing to let go of the past. By the time he finally pulls the trigger, he has already lost everything that mattered. Reynolds dies. The score is finally settled. But John is not rewarded with peace. Instead, he is left standing alone, carrying the same silence that has followed him throughout the entire film. That is what makes Motor City such an unusual revenge story. It refuses to tell audiences that vengeance brings closure. Instead, it suggests that revenge may only preserve pain, turning one tragic moment into a burden that lasts a lifetime.